Good evening. My name is Patricia Barnett, and my goal today is to present the results of a dissertation studied throughout this class over the past 8 weeks. The title of the dissertation is A Phenomenological Exploration of Black Male Law Enforcement Officers' Perspectives of Racial Profiling and Their Law Enforcement Career Exploration and Commitment. This study was conducted by Gregory Salter in 2013 at Florida International University. Please keep in mind that this is not my work, and I will do my best to articulate the researcher's intent, study, and ultimate findings. I will begin by talking a little bit about the significance of the study through the eyes of Salters, 2013, the problem statement, and the purpose of the study. I'll then take a look at the research questions, followed by the methodology and the results. And I will close with a conclusion. Now let's take a look at the background. According to Salters, 2013, racial profiling is the discriminatory targeting of visible minorities by law enforcement, resulting in detention, citation, or arrest based on race. Often, Black men are stereotyped as criminals or are suspects of criminal activity, and these stereotypes exist regardless of age, socioeconomic status, or education. To add some additional perspective, according to the U.S. Department of Justice, Black males make up 4% of the U.S. population, yet they make up for 41% of individuals in prison. It is also important to note that criminal justice system data shows that in the year 2000, 77% of law enforcement officers hired full-time were whites and 9% were blacks. This disparity has contributed to the stifling of career exploration of Black males in law enforcement, according to Salters, 2013. The problem statement, therefore, is Black men are underrepresented in the ranks of sworn law enforcement officers. Black men are also stereotyped and treated with the suspicion that at some point they will commit a crime or they already have committed a crime. According to Salters, 2013, the percentage of blacks in law enforcement agencies should mirror the communities they serve. Let's take a look at the purpose of the study. The purpose of this phenomenological study was to explore Black male law enforcement officers' perspectives of how racial profiling shaped their decisions to explore and commit to a career in law enforcement. Let's take a closer look at the research questions. The primary research question, according to Salters, sought to answer was, what are Black male law enforcement officers' perspectives of how racial profiling shaped their decisions to explore and commit to a career in law enforcement? The secondary questions were, how do Black male law enforcement officers define racial profiling? What role has racial profiling played in Black male law enforcement officers' career exploration? Also, what career adaptive mechanisms do Black male law enforcement officers believe enhance their integration into law enforcement? And finally, how has racial profiling influenced Black male law enforcement officers' process of career decision-making within the organization? Let's take a look at the methodology. Phenomenology is a qualitative research method that seeks to identify the essence, structure, and reality of human experiences concerning a phenomenon. I should also add that phenomenological researchers are interested in understanding the meaning of an experience through the understanding of those living that particular experience. The phenomenon studied here was Black male law enforcement officers' perspectives of how racial profiling shaped their decisions to choose law enforcement as a career. The study did contain some limitations. Racial profiling affects not only Black males seeking jobs in law enforcement, it also affects Black females and white individuals as well. However, this research was limited to Black male law enforcement officers and their perspectives on racial profiling and how that perspective impacted their career explorations. 17 Black male law enforcement officers were selected for this study using snowball and criterion sampling methods. They were primarily selected as they were in a unique position to provide valuable insights into the essence of racial profiling and issues regarding law enforcement, organizational policies, and practices. It was somewhat difficult to obtain participants for this study due to the sheer sensitive nature of the topic. So, pseudonyms were provided to the participants to protect their identities, and they were given informed consents approved by the IRB of Florida International University to sign, acknowledging their understanding of the study and its scope. Data collection was done through face-to-face interviews during a planned 2-hour window. The interview questions were open-ended, hoping to encourage open-ended responses. Once the interviews were complete, and in keeping with the goal of searching for meaning and a phenomenon, the data was analyzed using inductive, deductive, and comparative analyses. A rubric of a priori codes was used to identify themes and patterns that later were turned into a report of the findings. Let's take a look at the findings. The data analysis determined that color and/or race does matter. The participants provided various situations where color and/or race were the only or main reason for action being taken. The findings also determined that being Black could lead to casualties just by simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Another finding determined that when someone fits a profile, they and their communities are negatively impacted, leading to barriers to seeking and exploring a career in law enforcement. Now, what does all of this mean? The study revealed the essence of racial profiling from the perspective of the Black male law enforcement officer. The study implies that color and/or race does matter, and racial profiling negatively impacts the career options of Blacks. Salters 2013 recommends further research to focus on the intersection of racial profiling and human resource policies and practices to allow for a deeper analysis of applicants' capabilities during the hiring process. Thank you so much. Again, this was my defense or my interpretation of a defense through the eyes of Salters 2013 and his phenomenological research. Thank you.